Hello guys, this is Recaps Now here. Today, I will explain an Indian movie Tere Zameen Par. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie revolves around an 8-year-old kid named Ishaan. Ishaan is a boy full of imaginative thoughts and is considered by his friends as a troublemaker. No matter how hard he tries, Ishaan always fails in his exams and is considered the worst student in the class. At the beginning of the movie, we learn that he studies in class 3 and has been doing so for the second consecutive year now. And still, his grades have not improved as suggested by his report card. And if things continued like this, then he may have to repeat the same class once more. Compared to Ishaan, his elder brother Johan is the perfect student. Besides studies, Johan also excels in tennis and is about to compete in the interstate tennis championship scheduled to happen soon. We see Ishaan always gets into a fight with the kids in the neighborhood as they bully him. One day, one of the kids' mothers complains about Ishaan to his father Nand Kishore. Nand Kishore feels embarrassed by his son and apologizes to the other parent and the boy for his son's behavior. After they leave, he punishes Ishaan by shoving Ishaan to the floor and tries to discipline Ishaan. We see that although Nand Kishore loved his son, he is still very rude and harsh to Ishaan. He thought that Ishaan's poor grades and incapability to perform regular tasks were due to his laziness. The next day, Ishaan's English teacher asks him to read out a line from the book. Ishaan gives his best but is unable to read out a single letter, and is even unable to form a word. He finds it difficult to understand the letters. But the teacher misunderstands this and thought that Ishaan was acting rude. When the teacher constantly asks him to read, he shouts out some unclear words and is sent out of the class as a punishment. Punishment was nothing new to Ishaan, as he spends most of his time outside the class instead of studying in the class, as the teachers consider him to be a disturbing element to other students. It so happened, Ishaan did not do his maths homework that day. So he runs away from the school to escape punishment and from the fear of facing the math teacher. He ends up spending the whole day outside and wanders around the neighborhood. It seems he enjoyed the day a lot. His activities that day included buying ice cream, spending time by the sea, and observing the passers-by. At the end of the day, he returns to his school bus and no one noticed that he was absent till then. The scene then shifts to his home, and we see that he has made a lovely painting. Ishaan was very passionate about painting and loves it. This ability of his is helped by the fact that he has an imaginative and creative mind and he produces some classic paintings. After this, his mother Meyer is seen teaching him and she tries to make him do his homework. She observes that Ishaan had terrible handwriting and his workbook had a lot of spelling mistakes. Here we see that she also relates his poor handwriting to his laziness, just like others did, and scolds him for the mistake. The following day, Ishaan had to give the teacher an absent note from his parents. Ishaan is scared and thus he pleads with his brother to write it for him. Johan tells him to promise that he would never miss classes again and writes the note. The next morning, Ishaan shows the note to his teacher who does not question its originality. Ishaan also acts of coughing to make it sound like he was sick. That day the math teacher takes a surprise test. Ishaan is given his test script, but he feels that the letters were dancing. In question number 1, he is asked to multiply 3 with 9. Inside his mind, he imagines a war between the Earth and Pluto, as they are the 3rd and 9th planets respectively. He imagines that Earth was destroying Pluto and writes the answer as 3. He leaves the rest of the paper blank and submits it. When his friends ask him about the test, he says that he enjoyed the test a lot. The next day, Nand Kishore returns home after a business trip, and an overjoyed Ishaan hugs his father to express his happiness. But Nand Kishore discovers the fake absent note during breakfast, and on investigating, he discovers that Ishaan had fled from the school the previous day and was wandering around alone in the road the whole day. The next day, the parents are called up by the school authority and they go to meet his teachers, and the principal who criticizes Ishaan for his behavior in the class. Here the parents also find out about the math test and its results. The principal thinks that maybe Ishaan is a special child and needs to be sent to a school for the differently able kids. Nand Kishore is terrified to even think that his son is a differently able child. Both the parents are worried for the kid's future and as a result, they decide to send Ishaan to a boarding school. Ishaan protests against the idea as he was reluctant to leave his family. We see he cries and begs his parents so that they keep him with them and do not send him to boarding school. Here we see that it was a difficult decision for the parents as well, because even they did not want to part ways with the kid but end up doing what they felt was right for Ishaan. That night Ishaan has a bad dream, where he sees that he loses his mother amongst the crowd and is frightened by it and wakes up screaming. When his mother tries to calm him down, he again pleads to her to not send him away, and promises that he would work harder on his studies if they let him stay with them. Meyer is shattered to hear this, but Nand Kishore remains firm on his decision about his son. Next, we see the day finally come, when Ishaan goes to the boarding school located in the countryside accompanied by his family. Here he will have to share dormitories with other kids and do his chores, and he also learns that he could meet his family only once a month according to the rules of the school. It felt like a nightmare for the 8-year-old kid. The warden welcomes him and also warns him that he has to mend his ways if he was to survive here in the school. The family, meanwhile, leaves the premises after taking a tour of the school with a heavy heart. Here we see Ishaan just looking on with tear-filled eyes as his family leaves. He continues to stay like that even after the car had disappeared. As it starts to get dark, he walks inside the hostel, but was still crying. He did not talk to anybody and even has dinner for the sake of it. At night, he is unable to get sleep, so he goes to the washroom and cries his heart out as he missed his mother a lot. On the other side, Maya gets back home and is seen going through Ishaan's belongings when she finds his drawing book and feels disappointed on seeing a picture of Ishaan being separated from the family. Meyer is left heartbroken when she understands how much the kid feared staying away from his family. Ishaan struggles to do daily activities such as tying his tie and shoelaces. On his first day at school, Mr. Tiwari, who was the Hindi teacher, asks him to sit with Rajan, who was the first boy in the class. The teacher soon understands that something was wrong with Ishaan. Ishaan did not pay attention in the class and is beaten by the art teacher. It seems nothing had changed for Ishaan from the previous school to the new one. He is always punished and sent outside the classroom, and the teachers also do not allow him to participate in the class activities as he ruins them. As time passes, he becomes so frustrated that he tears his books and puts them away into the garbage bin. He stops trying to improve and excel in his studies and is seen suffering from a sequence of depression and self-hate. A month passes, and when his family comes to meet him, he locks himself up in the room and cries his heart out for the first time since he last met his family. When he is asked to open the door, he comes out and does many laps of the basketball court as a form of protest. That night, the family takes Ishaan to a hotel to give him some respite from the monotonous hostel life. Johan gives him a painting supplies kit, not knowing that Ishaan had shut his creativity and stopped painting. The following day, the family sees him off to the hostel and bids him a farewell, and Ishaan is again left all alone once more. Later that day, Ishaan feels extremely low, perhaps the lowest he had ever felt. He looks down from the rooftop and thought how it was like to jump and fall from that height. While he thinks about these things, he is interrupted by his friend Rajan, who informs him about the new art teacher. Ishaan does not pay too much attention to Rajan, as none of the teachers had helped him in his life to date. However, the students are surprised when Ram enters the class dressed like a joker. He sings a song and plays the flute, makes them dance, and lets them enjoy themselves, unlike other teachers. The whole class enjoys themselves except Ishaan, who does not even participate in the fun as he was depressed and lost all his zeal. As their first classwork, the kids are told to draw or paint whatever they liked. Ram wanted to see the class's creative side so that he can have an idea of how he should proceed with them. The children are seen drawing many things all different from each other, but Ishaan is the only kid who does not even touch the paper. Initially, Ram thinks that the kid was taking some time to think about what to draw, but Ishaan's paper remains empty even when the class ends. Ram worries and asks Ishaan what the problem was, to which Ishaan stays silent. That evening, Maya calls up Ishaan and informs him that they would not be able to come to see him and have to postpone the visit due to Johan's tennis tournament next week. Ishaan does not say a word and only listens. This makes Ishaan feel even more neglected, and he feels his family did not care about him. He sheds a teardrop and walks away. The next day, Ram sees Ishaan kneeling outside the class, A fascinated Ram asks Rajan about Ishaan. Rajan informs Ram that Ishaan has difficulties in understanding words and letters no matter how much he tries. Ram teaches in a school for the differently abled, so he has an understanding and an eye for special kids. Ram then searches through Ishaan's old workbooks to know more about him, and finds a similar pattern of mistakes. Ram was so involved in the Ishaan case that he keeps on thinking about him even when he teaches the special kids. We learn that he also suffered the same problem, so he sympathizes with Ishaan and can relate to his struggles. Many weeks later, he figures out what Ishaan's actual problem was and travels to Ishaan's hometown to meet his parents. Ishaan's parents welcome Ram and allow him to inspect Ishaan's bedroom. Ram is amazed to see that Ishaan used to paint. This saddens him even more as the boy lost his spark due to the extreme undue pressures from his parents. Nand Kishore demeans his son in front of Ram and complains that he was lazy and did not like studying. Ram protests this and shows them the pattern in Ishaan's mistakes. Ram shows them that Ishaan always writes letters in an inverted manner, indicating he has problems identifying and understanding and differentiating them. Still, the father blames the problem on Ishaan's laziness, but Ram denies this straight and tells Nand Kishore he was wrong. Ram then declares that Ishaan suffered from a nervous disorder called dyslexia that caused him not to understand certain patterns in words. Ram also says that Ishaan had difficulty in coordinating. Thus, he is unable to do simple daily tasks such as tying the shoelaces. He says the kid must have suffered a lot as no one understood his problem, that he could not read and termed him lazy. Nand Kishore misunderstands Ram and thinks he was referring to Ishaan as a mentally sick child and gets angry with him. To clarify the situation, Ram asks Nand Kishore to read foreign letters from a box and scolds him when he fails to do so. After this demonstration, Nand Kishore understands what his son might have been suffering through all these years. Still, he did not feel Ishaan could make a career out of painting. Ram, however, is determined to prove him wrong. The next day, when he returns to the school, he informs the students about famous people who were not good at studies. His examples range from scientists to philosophers. Hearing this, Ishaan feels much better. Ram asks them who invented the light bulb, and Ishaan answers, for the first time in many weeks, Thomas Edison. Ram observes a sparkle in the boy's eye for learning. Later that day, Ishaan sits by the pond and sees a rubber band and leaves to make a boat out of it. Ram is mighty impressed with Ishaan's work and brings the structure home and keeps it as a decoration. Ishaan's creative side had arisen again, but it still needed some time before he could learn to study like kids of his age. Next we see, one day Ram pays a visit to the principal of the school and discusses Ishaan's case with him. The principal listens to Ram and understands Ishaan's problem, and opines that they should send Ishaan to a school for people with special needs. But Ram is confident that Ishaan can excel by studying in his current school, if the teachers understood the kid's problem and help in according to that. But when the principal says this was not possible, Ram takes the responsibility and offers to teach Ishaan every day after school hours. The principal allows this for the sake of the kid. From the next day onwards, Ram uses different tactics to help Ishaan differentiate letters of the alphabet. They learn to use sandboxes, play with doughs, sensory methods, etc. Ishaan learns to calculate with the help of audiobooks and stairs. In a matter of 2 months, he starts to understand the letters that other teachers were not able to make him understand in many years. One day, Nand Kishore visits the school to meet Ram and informs him that they were researching their son's problem. He further tells Ram that he was not an absent father and that he was proud of himself. Ram, however, again reminds him that he was the main cause of Ishaan's loss of self-confidence, which Nand Kishore could not deny. While leaving, Nand Kishore sees Ishaan trying to read from the notice board and regrets the fact that he unknowingly hurt his child. Tears fill his eyes at the thought, and he did not dare to face Ishaan anymore. Some days later, Ram arranges a painting competition for everybody, including teachers and students of the school. Everyone assembles in the auditorium and takes part in the event. Ishaan is seen using the painting supplies gifted to him by Yohanan for the first time during the event. As the event starts, we see everyone is busy drawing or painting, and everyone enjoys the day, including the teachers, and give their best shot. When the event ends, Ishaan creates a beautiful painting of himself sitting by the pond, and goes to submit it and finds that Ram had made a marvelous portrait of him, and he is overwhelmed and speechless by the gesture. Afterward, it is announced that the winning painting will be featured on the cover of the new yearbook. In the prize-giving ceremony, the principal says that it was a difficult choice for them as two paintings stood out in their eyes. One was by Ram and another one by Ishaan. In the end, Ishaan is declared the winner, and Ram wins the runners-up prize. The crowd erupts and cheers for them, and for the first time, Ishaan feels that he has been rewarded for his true talent. He cannot hold back his tears and goes to his teacher and hugs him. In the final scene, Meyer and Nand Kishore come for the year-ending parents-teacher meeting, where the principal boasts about Ishaan's talent, showing them the painting on the front cover of the yearbook. Both of Ishaan's parents are surprised and shocked by the sudden attention that they had to face. The principal also praises Ram for his excellent guidance to Ishaan and for doing a great job at it. Later, the parents meet Ishaan's teachers, who show them his report card and praise him for his remarkable transformation and progress. Outside, the parents watch Ishaan playing and cry tears of joy. Nand Kishore goes to meet Ram and thanks him for helping his son and apologizes for his past behavior. Lastly, Ishaan bids farewell to Ram and goes back to his hometown for a vacation. Thus, the movie ends. Thank you for watching.